Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, February 17th. We hope you guys had a great Valentine's Day this last week. We know you're in love with the fish, and we checked in with Tom Lee Gentry, and then, of course, Tracy Robinson filling in for us, our local pro staffer. We'll be right back with what the guys have to say. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, February the 17th. Hey, this is the report where we usually join Gentry Gordy talking a little bit of Lake Martin, Jordan Lake, but he's in continuing education this week with his career as a paramedic. So he passed on some information for us. Of course, he fished the Lake Jordan Alabama Bass Trail this last week. Water temperature, he said, was in the 53 to 55 range, and the fish had really started to move up over there. It really put out some good weights. It took more than 20 pounds to win the tournament. Of course, those winners got $15,000 for doing that. Always a good time when you're able to put that kind of weight together and win that kind of money. Gentry finished middle of the pack, had himself 13, 14 pounds there. The water's dirty at Jordan Lake right now. It's causing the fish to kind of move up just a little bit and kind of get into those shallow waters. He talked about being able to do a square bill, bladed jig, some of those kinds of things around some of that main river grass, some of that stuff that you might see them getting into when there's current going and the water's a little bit dirty, pushes those fish up next to cover, next to some of the hard woods, that kind of thing. A swim jig, a dark colored swim jig, he said was really good at the tournament for them, being able to put some fish in the boat out of that grass. Another thing that was going well during that tournament for those guys was the dock bite. If you get out there on those docks, you can use a Texas rig Senko weightless, throw jigs, wacky rigs around some of those dock posts. Some of that stuff you're going to have to let soak just a little bit, kind of let it sit there, maybe jiggle it around some of those dock posts. A good thing to find around the docks this time of the year is to find some that have a little bit of brush around them, because as the crappie and the rest of the bait fish start to move up, they'll hold around some of that brush, as will the bass. So if you can find old Christmas trees or something that's laid down on the bottom down there that'll help target those fish a little bit more, the more complex the dock, you'll be able to put a few more fish into that boat. Lake Martin, it's still clear. It's rising, but it's clear, so the fish are kind of in a spot where they're starting to move up a little bit, but not really getting into the shallows quite yet. There is a little bit of a shallow water bite in there. Square bills, chatterbaits, spinnerbaits, that's kind of starting to show up, but really getting around some of those deeper brush piles, trash piles, as Gentry likes to call them, are going to be the deal this time of the year. And you can drop vertically on some of those fish, drop shots, Demiki rigs, some of those kinds of deals. Once those fish get really established into those trash piles, a mid-depth crankbait's going to really perform for you, something that's going to tick the tops or the edges of those brush piles and put some fish in the boat for you. But that's what Gentry had to report this week. Thanks, Gentry. Thanks for the information. We'll talk to you again next week, folks, right here on the Bucks Island Area Fishing Report. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, February 17th. Hey, joining us by phone this week is Lee Pitts, who's out there doing his thing, taking clients out there, putting them on some fish. Lee, man, it seems like the weather's starting to break a little bit. We're starting to get some warming temperatures. We know Guntersville's busted wide open. How are things up there at Weiss Lake?
The Coosa is a whole different animal right now than Guntersville. I would like to say that we're catching some bags like Tom Ott's pond, but that would be new. We're still struggling. You know, Weiss is one of those deals that, and I'll start with our crappie first. We're still experiencing these fish are not trying to move into the bays quite yet in what we're used to. You know, normally by that first week or two of February, man, things are on. It's kicking, it's going. Still got some mud in there. Still got some high water, a lot of moving water, and the fish are just kind of in a holding pattern right now. In between coming out of these deep creek ledges and getting in the mouths of these bays where they're supposed to be, where we can start our typical long line trolling, catching some fish, but we're just not seeing the numbers right now that are trying to migrate into these creeks.
So are the bass behind then as well, or are they kind of already up in those shallows with the water being dirty?
It's a multiple of a few things right now. Some of the fish are still kind of staged out off of these points. Weiss being a typical shallow lake, a lot of them are still out in that deeper water holding right now, and I think they're just trying to get in some places where they don't have to fight that current. You can catch some spots on some of those little current, the creek swings and some of those rocky points that come out. The largemouth are starting to try to move in some of this shallower water, but with that water moving like it is, it's kind of made it tough right now with that largemouth bite where they should be up really, really tight and up really shallow. Crankbait, taking some kind of little vibrating jig and, little square bills and catch them. It's still not right for us. I mean, it's just we're wanting it. We're ready to go. The weather's starting to try to cooperate with us. It's just that water situation is just not right.
Well, that kind of spills over into Neely Henry because you still got more current going through there with that lake being narrower like that. Is Neely a little tough too in the last 20 seconds?
Neely has been, but the fish are starting to kind of get in the mouths of some of these places just to get out of that straight shot river current. And like I said, hey, I would love to be able to tell you something like Guntersville right now, but I'm going to give you the good and the bad and the ugly. And right now on our two Coosa lakes right there, it's a little ugly. You can still catch fish. The dock bite is really producing. Bobby Garland slab slayers, some of our new, that live roamer has been real good. These fish they're still just a week or so behind.
Lee, we'll talk to you again soon, brother. Thanks. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, February 17th. Hey, we're joined by guest fill-in this week, Tracy Robinson, who's an expert on all things fishing all over the state of Alabama and beyond. Tracy, what's happening at Logan, Martin, and Lay Lake this week?
Well, a lot's changed this week, so pretty tricky situation on all the lakes around here with all the rains and floods we had. I'll give you a little bit of report of what was happening leading up to the floods, but Lay especially was actually starting to fish more like a springtime bite there. The fish were starting to move up with the warmer waters. Water temperature had gotten up in 52, 54. We got a lot of rains, though, kind of changed the lake, muddied it up. There's still a good bit of forward-facing sonar on the lower end of the lake if you can find some of that cleaner water after the rain, but that bite was pretty good. On the upper end, the shallow bite, a lot of grass fish were being caught, swimming jigs, and even pitching plastics around it. So a lot's changed in this week, but that was kind of the deal at Lay leading up to this week. Logan, similar. A couple of big tournaments been at Logan the past few 2 or 3 weeks, but water temperature is about the same there, maybe 50, 51 degrees this week. At Logan, though, it's so much current there on the upper end right now with the water flowing through the Coosa River. That bite was happening a little bit, but it may be too much current now. It may have it a little bit blown out. A lot of people are catching the fish on the crankbait, spinner baits, the rocks kind of moving up as well. The forward-facing sonar bite's really good down. You have to find the clear water again. Clear Creek, Rabbit Branch area, and you can get bit down there on that end chasing some of the bait around. One thing I did leave out on Lay for whatever reason, those fish are a little bit more on that main lake points as opposed to the pockets and creeks. Crankbaits, anywhere from a 6-foot diver down to a 12-foot. Kind of got to get a bite or two, find the bait a little bit, but those main lake points have been pretty good at Lay. A lot changed, but that's the gist of what was kind of going on leading up to this week.
Is it the kind of thing, Tracy, where you're going to have to keep moving and get one or two here and not necessarily be able to find a bunched up?
I think so, Dano. You might run into some that are congregated together, but the key thing, these fish are repositioning with the water levels rising, with the flood, with the changing water color. There's big change in the temperature of muddy water versus clear water. So the fish have really been on the move up and down the lake. I doubt you're going to run into a big wad of them, like you said. So just bass fishing 101s, points, docks, brush, rock piles, that kind of thing. Just keep hitting it until you kind of figure out what's going on that day. But it's definitely a changing deal going on right now.
Tracy, as always, man, we appreciate your availability and filling in for us. We'll talk to you again soon, brother.
All right. Thank you, Dano.
Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, February 17th. Hey, we're joined by Tom Ott, and folks, I got to tell you right now, he's up there at Guntersville. They got a smash fest going on at that Toyota Series. We're recording this on Thursday after day one. 28 pounds is leading it, but the big thing is in 100th place is almost 16 pounds. They're catching them up there, aren't they, Tom?
I can't say I'm surprised. I mean, the lake's just full of 4-pounders right now. I mean, we've had a couple of good years, but we did have a good summer last year. Didn't have a lot of floods. Grass was real strong. So, it's just showing out right now. I mean, we went out just for a few hours last week. We're able to put 18 fish in a boat very fast, and very few of them were non-keepers. I will say that. So, I think some of these guys that are out there scoping are, really catching those big, huge bags. And I think what those guys are doing are just catching some suspended fish, probably over a creek somewhere around some bait, that kind of deal. But I mean, that's just amazing to me that you can sit there and catch 10-pounders, or, that are suspended. But these guys are good. So I will
What did
say
you
this.
do to put some fish in the boat?
Yeah, just to get some
What was,
fish. I mean, the drains are really the deal right now. I mean, those fish are really packing into those small little drains that are either coming off the river channel, off the backside of the river channel ledge, or that are going up into the flats, into spawning flats. Some of those fish are at the heads of those drains. Some are moving throughout that, the whole length of it. And not all drains are created equal. So some are longer, some are a little bit deeper than others, but basically you're just looking for, any kind of depth change from the surroundings. So even if it's as subtle as 8 inches to a foot, that could be considered a drain. Especially, you guys read your topo maps, you're going to find those. But we pulled up on some the other day, and first 2 casts had 3-pounders in the boat. So it's just, they're really setting up. The other thing that we look for are where the birds are. If you're not seeing any birds, you're not seeing any bait, chances are you're not going to find fish in those drains, or at least the right kind. So watch the birds, look for that heavy when you see a lot of bait, and just start fishing around. I mean, chatterbaits, rattle traps, square bills, all those baits are really producing. If you're going to use a square bill, go with something with a little tight wobble. The colder water's got them a little, I don't know what the tight wobble does for them, but it really attracts them versus something that's, got a big round body on it that's going back and forth. You just got that little tight wobble, and they just love it. It's just like a rattle trap.
that jerkbait's going to do good this time of the year too. Tom, thanks for everything this week, man. We appreciate everything, and we'll talk to you again next week, brother.
Tight lines. We'll talk to you next time.
Well, that'll do it for our Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, February the 17th. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we appreciate everything that you are being a part of Bucks Island. You are the best part of Bucks Island, and we are here to serve you. Whether you're looking for that new boat, you're looking for the tackle to go fishing, or what you need to keep your boat on the water, Bucks Island is here for you. And thanks to the guys for everything that they do every week to help us put a few more fish in the boat. We'll talk to you again next week. Look forward to seeing you.